Okay guys, here we are with a Yugioh 5ds Duels deck recipe. Wow, I said that without messing up. Anyways, this was requested by, as you can see, I don't want to say these names, I'm gonna butcher them all. Jared92, right? I don't really know how to pronounce that. I don't know what his other username is that he uses, but he asked me if I could help him out with a deck, and he did request a if I could record a video of the deck and what I improved about it. So yeah, here's his video response to it. That request. So yeah, with no further ado, let's get to the deck. And if you guys are curious, this is like Hamon burn, I think it is. That's basically what I consider it, but you might call it something else. So to start off, we do have the 3 Lord of Striking Thunders. Usually I would never have 3 of them because they're like so high leveled, and drawing into them is usually a bad thing. But I think 3 is actually doing pretty good in this deck, that it's not making dread draws. I'm not drawing like 3 at one time. I mean, because there's so many spells, and actually the monster count got higher than the spells. But yeah, I don't really have problems drawing, like, I don't really have a problem not drawing into 3 of these. So yeah, and these are good stuff for discarding too if you need it. So if you guys don't know, you must get rid of 3 face-up continuous spells. Send them to the grave, of course. Sorry about that. So yeah, you send 3 continuous spells to the graveyard, which most likely you'll see this card in Crystal Beast, because of the fact that Crystal Beast, when destroyed, go into the back row and they count as face-up continuous spells. But you won't ever see this card with Rainbow Dragon. You'll just see this card or Rainbow Dragon, I think. I don't really know, because I don't know too many people who run Hamon other than like one other person. Anyways, but we're using the other way of using Hamon, where you use actual continuous spells that aren't monsters into spells. So what this effect is while it's an attack, or no, it's not while it's an attack. If this card happens to destroy an opponent's monster battle, which I guess implies it has to be an attack, then you inflict 1,000 damage. So you can do the most common thing you will probably attack is, let's say, a Yugioh. I think it's more common to run into. Maybe Red Eyes, Darkest Metal, maybe some Lumina's, Judging Dragons, I don't know. Trying to think of a common thing. Anyways, so let's say there's a Yugioh and you bring this out. You do 1200 for battle damage, and then effect damage would kick in because he did destroy his monster and he took 1,000, so you'd be doing 2,200 damage, which is really pretty good. The downside is he's not protected from spells and traps, so that is a problem, because you can run into a Mirror Force without any notice or warning about it, and you can't stop it. But there is the other effect, which is pretty good, which is while this card is in face-up defense position, your opponent cannot target other monsters for attacks. I mean, so I saw 2 people use this, that use Hamon actually. But so basically what happens is, if you put this in defense, your opponent can't attack anything other than this card. And this is a 4,000 point defense. The only cards that you're going to see that are getting over this by attacking without power boost is 5-headed. And I mean, there are effects to power up monsters that you can get them up to like ridiculous attacks. Maybe absolute 0 if it had enough water monsters out. But in all reality, it's just going to be 5-headed that you have to watch out for if it comes down to battle. So, you know, it's not really that bad actually. So yeah, Wow, I spent a lot of time on that one card. Anyways, we have one lava golem. He has told me he only has one lava golem, which, if you were to run another lava golem, I would take out one Hamon and put another lava golem. But, you know, one lava golem is fine. So if you don't know, you tribute two monsters you control, or not you control, they control your opponent controls, and yeah. Now, and you bring this out. So the downsides of this card is you can't normal or set to turn you special summon it, and that's pretty much the only downside. Oh yeah, and the other downside is your opponent has a 3000 attack point monster. But one note is do not summon this unless if you have something to protect you, because if you bring this out and you have nothing to protect you, you're just screwing yourself over. So if you don't have, like, in this case, level limit area B, if you don't have that in the hand, I'm not saying it's the only card that you can use to protect yourself, but if you don't have something like that, you're just gonna screw yourself over. I mean, true, you can get over Stardust and Goyo and yada yada yada, but you're gonna, yeah, okay, but you're just gonna screw yourself over if you don't. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, it scared me half to death. I lost my train of thought. So yeah, you're just gonna screw yourself over when you summon this with no protection. So the good side is your opponent takes 1000 during each of their standby phases, but they can just tribute it off and yada yada. So yeah, one lava golem. One marshmallow. I really don't have to go over this, do I? I mean, you set this, your opponent attacks it, they take 1000, and it can't be destroyed by battle. It's simple as that. Morphing jar. I mean, this card is really simple too. You set it, your opponent attacks, and they discard. The duck starts barking. So, sorry about that again. I don't mean to sigh. It's just a dog starts to bark, and it's annoying. So anyways, with Morphing Jar, you need to keep in mind there are Dark Worlds in this game. So if you're playing this, and you know your opponent's playing Dark Worlds, which you'll know as soon as they activate like Dark World Lightning or something like that, or you can't really go based off of Dark World Dealing because Exodia runs that too, but Dark World Lightning usually implies they have Dark Worlds. And also Fabled, you have to watch out for too, so. Anyways, yeah, so this card is pretty good. You can use this or Card Destruction, it's your choice. In his case, he prefers Morphing Jar, which I don't think is too bad. It actually helps out a lot in the situations. Just make sure you watch out for that Dark Worlds and Fables. That's the only thing. But they are so, I don't see too many people play them, so you don't have to worry about them too much. One Plague Spreader Zombie. I'm not going to go over the effect. There's the effect. Go ahead and read it. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. Yeah. It's there for the synchro, pretty much. I mean, that's basically what Plague Spreader is there all the time for. Sangan, as I said, I don't need to go over this either. If it's destroyed from the field, you get a card. Mostly go for Solar Flare. If you don't, then go for UFO Turtles, Spirit, Morphing, Marsh. You know, it depends on the situation. I prefer to get Solar Flare when I have one out on the field, and then summon Solar Flare again and make a Solar Flare lock. Which, let's go into Solar Flare. Now, the Solar Flare lock implies that, well, it's not just Solar Flare. It's a thing called lock. Lock is, in fact, when one card says you can't attack another card except for this card. Wait, how does Martin Captain put it? Hold on, let me look at something. Text search. I want to see real quick. cap. I'm not looking up marauding because I don't know how to spell marauding. No. Your opponent cannot select the dark. Basically implies your opponent can't target another card for an attack other than this card. As it says for this, while you control this card cannot be attacked. Basically, the lock is having two of the same monster. It doesn't have to be the same. Oh, no. Actually, it does. There are Command Knight, there's Marauding Captain, Solar Flare, there's the Magnet, the Morphtronics, there's so many other random things. There's the Gravekeeper Servant, Dimensional Fissure, or is it Macrocosmos, whatever. Anyways, these locks are really annoying to get past because you can't just attack over them. Oh yeah, Dupe Frog is a very known lock which blocks your opponent from anything. Yeah, as you saw in Evil Frogs. But this is not Evil Frogs, so let's get back on track, shall we? So basically, you summon two of these out. 3 if you really wanna... If you really... I don't know, just 3 if you want to. Anyways, so you need 2 of them on the field, and your opponent can't attack this. Because if you control 2 of them, your opponent can't attack either one, because... Yeah, it says, while you control another Pyro, this card cannot be attacked. So, since 2 of them have the same effect, your opponent can't attack this. Now, since you have Monster Presence, your opponent can't attack you directly, because it's not like, oh, well, I can't attack your monsters? Well, direct attack? Then, nope, it doesn't work like that. So, yeah, so you're gonna block with this. Now, while your opponent's trying to think of how to get over this, which is not really hard to get over, usually if they have the right hand. So what you're trying to do while you have the Solar Flare lock, which, if you didn't know, another thing, during each of your end phase you inflict 500 to your opponent for each of these cards. Well, each card has the ability to inflict 500. So what you're doing while this lock is up, you're trying to draw into your continuous, in this case Kaiser, Messenger, Dark Door, Dark Room, Hamon. You actually get a pretty big hand after a while, just sitting there with Solar Flare lock. And you can do Kaiser Coliseum, which will block your opponent. You can do Messenger Piece. Level limit is kinda iffy because, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. And Dark Door, which makes it limited thing. Gravity Bind helps out. Yeah. So basically, yeah, go ahead and try to turbo your way towards Solar Flare, and use these other stuff to draw into what you need to. And when the field is all clear, use Hamon and attack. Or you can put Hamon in defense, and your opponent will never be able to attack Solar Flare, and you can keep burning your opponent for all the life point damage. One Spirit Reaper can't be destroyed. I've gone over this in my version of Reap What You Sow. So if you need a better description, go check out my other 3 zombie deck videos, because I don't really need to go over that card, I don't think. Another thing is we're only playing 3 darks, so running Crush card wouldn't help out too much, because the chances of getting a dark is 3 out of 40, which is in fact 3 out of 40 chance, which is really low, I guess you could say. It is a 13.3 repeated chance. So yeah, so we're not running Crush card. Basically, that's basically what I was trying to point out about that. UFO Turtle. If you don't know, when it's destroyed by battle, bring out a one fire type with 1500 or less attack. What that implies is you bring out Solar Flare. That's my whole reasoning behind this. That's basically the only reason that's in there for. Let's see, 2 volcanic slicers. He says he only has 1, but if I think it's better with 2, which, I mean, 1800 is pretty good. I don't see a problem with it. And it makes it so your opponent has to attack this, so they can't attack Solar Flare. Oh, another thing is the Solar Flare lock does not protect any of your monsters from attacks. So all your monsters are still open for attacks. So keep that in mind. Anyways, so the effect of this card, you inflict 500 to your opponent if you activate the effect, but you can't attack. But if you have stuff like Level Limit, Dark Door, Gravity Mind, Messenger Piece, you're not really going to be attacking now, are you? You're most likely just going to be using this effect until you get Hamon out, so. Yeah, if you need to attack, this card can get over basically a lot of things other than Thunder King and Kaiko. And Cyber Dragon. That's another well-played card. And if you run into Cyber Dragon, avoid using the UFO turtles. Well, you can set the UFO turtles. They can't do anything about that. But be careful about Cyber Dragon. So let's go over the spells like quickly, because I don't know. 2 Dark Room and Nightmares. You inflict 300 every time you do some effect damage. So it includes Hamon. Hamon would do 1300 for. Well, if it had both of these, you would do 1000 for Hamon and 600 for these. Marsh is 1600. That would be 1100 for each one of these. 1100 for each one of these. You get the point. It's really broken. 1 Trunade, returning his spells and traps to the hand. Everyone's spells. Hand Destruction. This is just in here for more draw power. He wants to be able to use this in tag and whatever. And in single player, so Hand Destruction is the way to go. If you're only using single player, I would probably prefer the Reckless Breeds. But actually no, Hand Destruction works a lot better in this deck. Because you can drop a Plague, you can drop Hamon, you can drop a lot of things. And it helps out. So yeah. 1 Kaiser, call it 2 call it Kaiser, not 1 Kaiser. So for people that don't know, is if depending on how many monsters you have on the field, so if you have like 1, your opponent can't exceed that number of monsters. So it doesn't work if you have no monsters, your opponent can't summon. That's not how that works. It's just that if you have 1 or more, they can't exceed it. So if you summon like 1 Hamon, as he said, your opponent can't summon anything else. Like, they can't go for Synchros, they can't Scapegoat, they can't do a lot of things. They can only summon 1 monster, and most monsters are not over 4,000 attack points. So, your opponent's really relying on spells and traps, and they will usually Heavy Storm or Mirror Force. MST this card, not Mirror Force. So yeah, 2 Kaiser. I'll show you the side deck in a little bit, what I think you can replace it with if you want to. Also, another thing, I took out the burdens. I really didn't feel the need for it since I'm not really attacking anyways. And if I was going to attack, it would just be Hamon, and Hamon has 4,000 attack. So, I mean, I don't really see a point for burden. 1 level limit area B puts everything in defense, and my problem with this card, even though I kept it in here because it's really good, is if you have a Solar Flare Dragon out, since it has 1,000 defense, anything with level 3 you will get under it. So yeah, you need to be careful about that. Banished decks can pretty much get under level limit if you didn't know. They usually play level limit, which is surprising. Because they don't really care. They're like, okay, I'll activate this and I'll get under this with Banisher Radiance or something like that. So be careful about that. 2 Messenger apiece. I think I've gone over it. 1,500 or more cannot attack. So you can't attack with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 monsters. Lava Golem 2, but you don't really attack with it, your opponent does, so yeah. Monster Reborn. You know what it does? I have it in there so I can reborn some stuff. If my opponent destroys a Solar Flare, I bring out another Solar Flare, Monster Reborn, Solar Flare lock. 2 Poison of the Old Man. He did have 3. At first I thought 3 was doing pretty good, but I needed room for Monster Reborn and Pot of Avarice, so yeah. So this card, what it does is you can inflict 800 damage, or you can gain 1200 life points. Now these are both good things because if you're low on life points and your opponent activates like Ukazi and you have 500 life points, you can chain this, and since it is a quick play, you can set it and chain it to Heavy Storm, and you can use this to actually win games, because if your opponent goes down too much life points with Solemn or something like that, you can just chain it in. Oh, not to Solemn, because Solemn is speed spell 3, and as if you know, speed spells 3s can't be negated by anything other than speed spell 3. That sounds really gross how I say it. Anyways, yeah. So it's in there so you can get quick life points, or you can do quick damage, pretty much. And you only get one of the effects, so keep that in mind. One Pot of Avarice, return 5, draw 2. With 2 hand destructions, you're sending a lot of your monsters' spells to the grave, but you can return 5 and draw 2, so yeah. Not Hamon, Dark Door. Dark Door, what it does is only one monster can attack during battle phase. So that implies for you and your opponent. Now, as I said, you're only going to be attacking with Hamon. You're really, really rarely going to attack with UFO Turtles. Maybe more often with Volcanic Slicer, but rarely with Solar Flares and whatever, because you're just stalling out your opponent until you can get the big beastie out, and you can go and take down your opponent any way you see fit. So yeah, 2 Dark Doors. I don't think it's too bad. 2 Dark Bribes. So you can protect your continuous spells, and yeah, I'm not going over that card. Negate a spell or a trap, and your opponent draws 1. Gravity Bind, your opponent, I know I've gone over this, so level 4 or higher can't attack. As I said, it doesn't matter, because you're not really going to be attacking in this deck anyways, other than if you get Hamon out, so. And your opponent will probably get rid of this by the time you get Hamon out anyways, so. And if they don't, they're stuck with Solar Flares until they get rid of Gravity Bind. And even if they get rid of Gravity Bind, they still have to get over Solar Flare. So, yeah. I didn't really think it was helping, but when I saw that the fact that level limit was switching these into defense, and when it switches these into defense, level 3s don't have a problem about taking these out. So, yeah, Gravity Bind, it does the same thing level limit does, except it doesn't switch this to defense, so. Solemn Judgment, negate something for half your life points. I think he had 2 only, which is really good, because 3 would be pushing it, because it would go 4,000, 2,000, and it'd be 1,000, which, you know, if you're running 3 Solemns, it's, I guess you can, but really, Dark Bribe takes care of most of the things Solemn needs to take care of, and it's at a lower cost. I mean, of course they draw a card, but do you really care too much? Because if you get rid of their Heavy Storm and their MST, the only things you're really going to be worried about are Monster Reborn, Lightning Vortex, Smashing Ground, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not too many spells that anyone really worries about in this game. Not that I really worry about too many. Anyways, I could be wrong. You can leave comments in the section below and tell me what spells I should be worried about, but most likely I just worry about Heavy, MST, Lightning Vortex, and Smashing Ground, really. I don't really worry about continue equip spells because I have Compulse and all that. Not in this deck, but you know. So yeah, 2 Solemn Judgments. Now here's an interesting card. I never used this before, and I never really needed to. But the fact that Hamon is a spell-based deck, if you didn't know, because of the continuous spells, and we're playing 16 spells, I actually lowered it pretty well, so we're drawing more than just spells all the time. But since it is a spell-based deck, you can run this in spellcasters as well. But yeah, it is a counter spell, or counter trap, not spell. So it's a counter trap, and what it does is a spell speed 3, so your opponent can't negate this spell using Dark Bribe, 7 Tools, or Solemn. They can't chain Royal Decree or Trap Stun to this, so it's pretty good. And what it does is effect A, which you'll probably never use the whole entire game, is when you target a monster, when a monster is targeted with a spell card, you can negate it and destroy that card. But if you choose the second effect, which you most likely will, you can send one spell from your hand and negate the activation and destroy the card of a spell card. Now, what does that imply for you? Well, that protects you from Heavy Storm instead of having to use Solemn Judgment, which would make you lose half your life points, Dark Bribe, which make your opponent draw a card. Shield Spell is in there for more protection. Now, most likely you'll have like a Kaiser Coliseum or something up, which you don't really care about discarding something like Room of Nightmare. You want to keep Trunade, of course. Trunade, Monster Reborn, and Pot of Avarice are the 3 you want to keep, unless if it's in dire situation. So this card will protect your continuous spells no matter what. Well, except from traps. Traps are the only thing that you might have to worry about too. But you have Dark Bribe, so I don't see a problem. For the side deck, it's not really anything impressive. Catastor, Ancient Fairy, Army Arm, Black Rose, blah blah, you know. Dark Strike's in here because, you know, it's a burn deck. I'm never going to use it, but it's in there because, you know, it might help you out. And if that dog doesn't be quiet in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to tell him to shut up. And yeah, he doesn't know when to stop, so I'll be right back in 1 second. Okay, he stopped. I didn't have to say anything. So Dark Strike's in there, you can use it. I will never use this card in a game, really, because I really don't want to win with this card. Stardust, and that's pretty much it. For the side deck, and I know this video is dragging on long, so I'll scroll over the side deck really quick. And I'll go over it if people want to know why I have some of these in here. If not, go ahead and leave your comments in the section down below, and I will get to them when I do. And I rate this deck, it's definitely an 8 out of 10. So for those people who want to stick around to see why I chose some of these cards for a side deck, here's why. I added another Lava Golem because of the fact that 2 Lava Golems help out a little better, but they don't help out all the time. So yeah, if you want to switch out 1 Hamon, and yeah, Lava Golem can help you out, but as I said, 1 is fine in the deck right now. You don't need to run 2 unless you need it. Unless if you're running into too much things that you can't deal with. 2 Chain Energy, as I said, this is kind of like a lockdown deck where he's trying to lock down his opponent. So this card is really good. You must pay. Pay is not losing life points, so it's a cost. So if your opponent's down to like 500, they can't summon or activate anything, which will lock down your opponent, which you can bring out like Hamon, and of course you have to pay 500 to bring him out, but it's fine because you bring him out, your opponent can't do anything to stop Hamon, and you can just sit there with Hamon if you felt like it. So yeah, but since of the fact that if you have 500 or less life points, chain energy is a problem in the deck, so it's in the side deck. Only if you really need to lock down your opponent. If you need to put it in, I would suggest taking out Kaiser Coliseum, but you know, that's if you need it. So yeah, or Dark Door would help, probably be a nice situation. Dark Syndrome. So how this card works is during each of your standby phases, you lose 200, then it's doubled. So it's 200, 400, 800, 1600, yada yada yada. There's 2 of them, so you're burning your opponent for more and more damage. You have Solar Flares, you have Volcanic Slicers, you're burning your opponent pretty badly. This card is just adding to it, and then you bring out Hamon for the finishing blow. Keep in mind, this is in the side deck, because you can end up burning your own life points down too low and you'll lose. There are cards that get past this effect, but I'm not running them. 2 Gold Sarks. If you want to run these over hand destruction, you can. It will search out what you need to for your deck. Ground Collapse, I figure, is also another good card. It's like Kaiser, except the only difference is one is your opponent's not able to summon anything, or can't play anything in those monster zones. But you know, this card helps lock down too. Take out Kaiser Coliseum for this if you want to. And here's another interesting card. If you choose not to use Dark Door, or you just don't like it for a lot of reasons, use Vengeful Bog, which is kind of like Dark Door, but not really. What it does is, when a monster is normal summon, flip summon, or specialed, summoned it anyway, they can't attack the turn they were summoned. So this stops a lot of people from doing stuff, and it gives you like more turns, and it slows down most of those fast stacks that are like dragons, where they go red eyes, prime, whatever, and they can bring out all the cards they want. They can't attack that turn though, because of the fact they have to wait a turn to attack. 5-headed has to wait for this, and so many other things. So I suggest, if you want to, play this over Dark Door. If you don't, it's fine. Dark Door does do good for you. So yeah. 2 Dimension Walls is in here. It's kind of like Magic Cylinder, which if your opponent does damage to you, you just reflect that damage to them and you take no battle damage. So if they do like 5-headed direct attack, activate Dimension Wall, they take the 5,000, you take nothing. I needed something for attacks. I could have run Dimensional Prison, but since it is a burn kind of deck, you need Dimension Wall. One Magic Cylinder, you know what it does. I really don't need to explain it. It's in there if you need it. And Mirror Force. Basically, just stop your opponent from attacking, destroy stuff that's getting in your way if you can't draw what you need. So yeah, there is one other card, and I will show you right now, and then I will end this video because this video has dragged on long enough. Is it or is it, I always have a hard time finding this one trap. The Transcend. Here we go. And here's another card. It is called the Transmigration Prophecy. The reason I don't have it in the side deck is I don't have enough room. I mean, I probably could take out a Dark Snake Syndrome, take out that Lava Golem, I don't know. But this is another great card, so that if you're getting Heavy Stormed, your continuous spells are getting sent to the grave, you activate this and you put 2 of them back. Or you just send something else back to the deck. And that's pretty much all I can say for cards that would help this deck. There are some other stuff, but they're not really that liable, I guess you can say. I tried making this a little faster and faster each time, but I really couldn't do any faster than right now. I probably could, but I don't know. You know, it depends on situations, yada yada. So, anyone who sticked around for the last 35 minutes here, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck. As I said, it is definitely an 8 out of 10. It doesn't really bring out Hamon too often, but you can get him out really quickly if you want to. I mean, depends on your situation. And yeah, so go ahead and leave your deck requests down in the section below if you have any. I am willing to help out people that need it. And yeah, so if you guys don't send in those deck requests, if I don't get a request for a deck, the next one will be in fact my Shining Sink deck, which we'll get into that when it comes time for me to pick another deck of mine. So yeah, make sure to leave your comments in the section down below. I would love to hear what you guys want to see from me, what decks you want to see, and if you have any improvements, what you think should be added, what should be taken out, go ahead and leave in the comment section below. I think my friend here would love to know what you guys think too. This is Dragox55 signing out of this very long video, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.